Oh man, that feel good. Every time I hear that, man, that echo, it made me feel good. I'll be feeling like I'll be forgetting something until I hear it. I didn't hear my echo back. How I didn't hear my echo back. I didn't hear that echo back. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like something ain't right. I feel like something ain't right. Something ain't right, man. I feel like something ain't right. I gotta do my disclaimer. Okay. What is this over here? Let's get that down. Let's get that down. All right. How's everybody doing? Let's get our brand up. All right, let's do our disclaimer. I feel like I'm missing something, but we gonna get this going. All right, welcome in everybody. My name is Perfect of the Perfect Time Podcast Network. Shout out to all of my family in the building. Today, I want to let you know that this show is brought to you by Perfect Timing Podcast, and it's an entertainment comedy podcast. It's protected by fair use. None of the things said or used in today's show are meant maliciously or meant to malign or bully anyone. This is a comedy podcast. Please do not try this at home. Please do not try this at home. Again, this is a comedy podcast, and for comedy purposes, nothing here is meant to bully, malign, or to hurt anyone's feelings. So now that we got that out the way, we're going to get our intro out the way, and we're going to get the show started. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Quesos, pesos, coconut, arroz con pollo. That's a no-no. Boy, I told you you could die today. Cause I'm from the never where they shoot you and got away. Every single word that I say is for real, no cap. They know. So don't be the reason that they can't find your body and they have to say case closed. Case closed. Case closed. One day in the pound, you can die today. I promise you that I'm from the era where they shoot you and got away. Every single word that I say is for real, no cap. They know. So don't be the reason that they can't find your body and they have to say case closed. Case closed. I know you've heard of me, baby. Nathaniel Scott. And I really don't wanna have to gun you down. I don't wanna gun you down. If you think it's all love, you can die with your heart in your hand. And don't you know the cold case turns the case closed when we take your body way out of town. They said I love you, baby. They said I love you. Everybody at home. If you think it's all feelings, you can die with your heart in your hand. I'm from the era where they shot you and got away. Everything that I say is real, no cap. Oh, 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 He said, I'm from the era where they shot you and got away. Oh, everything I say is real, no cap. You can die with your heart in your head. Perfect Timing Podcast was a blast on your head. Everything that I say is real, no cap. I'm from the era where they shot you and got away.
Yo, I've been wanting to do this show since yesterday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, man. Shout out to Yvette Carnell, Breaking Bad, man. Breaking Brown, Breaking Bad, Breaking Brown, Breaking Bad. Shout out to Tone Talks, man, the people and creators of ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. What I hear them saying now is Descendants of Slaves. So shout out to Breaking Brown. I saw her last night about to go live. But, you know, yesterday I did a live stream, and I talked about this a little bit. And I gave a precursor to today's show. And because I did some of my research yesterday and today, but I'm very excited to be here today and to go over this topic. I'm not going to keep you too long, too strong, but perfect timing is never wrong. Hey, shout out to my brother over there, Roger reporting, everybody, the cool table, habitual line stuff. Yo. Yeah, man, this is a very, you know, I got college age kids. So got a lot of people in this thing that got college age kids, you know what I'm saying? I got college age kids. I feel like I got college age kids, so this thing hits home. You know, we in the black manosphere. This black shit is not no joke to me. This black shit is real. So I function with this black shit. So this is what it's all about, man. This is what it's all about. So this is what we doing. We gotta give the truth about this. Please make sure you vote in the poll. I know a lot of people gonna feel strongly about this issue on both sides. You're gonna have black people feeling strongly. You're going to have non-blacks feeling strongly on both sides. You're going to have black people who agree with the decision that the Supreme Court made and feel strongly about the fact that they don't believe affirmative action is effective and should work. But I think a lot, I feel like a lot, think and feel, you know, we say these words a lot, people say you shouldn't do it, but a lot of times in these spaces, it is all about, and what I've heard today after the decision from the Supreme Court is a lot of elation, a lot of happy feelings. People are happy and they feel vindicated, but no one is actually talking about the real data. Now, I've seen a couple interviews, and when asked the real question, the people who wanted this affirmative action, just in case you didn't know, the Supreme Court yesterday struck down gutted affirmative action. So at Ivy League schools, and this stems from, I'm going to show you where it stems from, but this stems from a 2014 lawsuit filed by a doctor, an Asian doctor, and his son about discrimination. Actually, what a term that they call reverse discrimination in admissions in Ivy League colleges, where affirmative action until yesterday was legal, where they was able to consider race. Now, a lot of people don't know that a complete form of affirmative action already had passed away in 2003. So in 2003, the law had already changed to where you could not just consider race solely. You had to consider race as a factor of a gamut of things to input people into college. But now you can't consider race at all. That's the decision. Also, we're going to take a look at, for the first time, we're going to react to a video talking about Biden's plan to do the student loan saving program. So we talk a lot about Robert Smith and what he did for those brothers in the HBCU and getting those brothers college debt paid for. Y'all let me know how we functioning out there, man. Make sure everything is sounding good, looking good, smelling right. Let me check and see if we all on for the night. Brothers on the left, wild to death. Niggas on the right, wild for the night. Punks in the front, go on, let's go. Dun, 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 dun. That's that Wu-Tang shit, bro. Fellas on the right, wild for the night. Niggas on the left, wild to death. Thugs in the back. Come on, let's attack. Come on. Wu-Tang in this bitch, man. Hey, look. So I did my research, and I actually worked. I live in California. I've worked in the UC, so I'm actually familiar with how affirmative action affects the job market, the school, and what it looks like on the actual ground. One of the things that I read today, I don't know if I'll actually show it because I want to focus on a couple videos, but one of the things that I read today was Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson. And in her briefing of the decision, what she said, she dissented. She did not agree that they should kill affirmative action, but she recused herself on the Harvard decision. Like, Ketanji Jackson, I don't know, man. But look, what Ketanji Jackson said is basically what the Supreme Court did is go forward with this idea of color blindness. Even though color blindness doesn't exist in society, they want to put forth color blindness in the law. And I've been saying this every day, that as black people, especially black men, we must see the writing on the wall. There's a unique time going on right now. And I think this is a time again where black men need to be concerned about the value of black life. And by the time we wake up and realize what's happening, I think it's going to be too late. I think it's going to be too late. I think this is the similar time period than when we first pre-George Floyd, pre-Michael Brown, pre-Black Lives Movement. There was an era in the country where the black male life had come to have no value, and our lives were being snuffed out for no reason. Children were being murdered. Men were being murdered for having cigarettes there. So this whole thing happened. But I said during that time, see, we as black men, we have a lot of issues we need to work out. And I don't believe we've dealt with really as a collective, as a group of men, because Kevin Samuels got popular right after that, and during that we were on quarantine. We started watching Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels spoke to a piece of black men who have been traumatized and hurt by black women. But what I'm talking about is actual healing, actually therapy and mental health for black men, the black men who were being hunted and killed. Because if you were alive during that time, you felt terrified driving your car. We had to have the talk with our children, and post talk, post George Floyd, post Black Lives Matter, I don't think we've had the mental health talk about black male worth and value in America. In fact, I know we haven't, and it's evident by the talk we had today on the Roger Report. On the Roger Report today, we did not have the talk. I mean, it was evident today, but we're having the talk on the Roger Report, but it's evident that black men still haven't come to grips with their lack of value, just being called black. Just us going by the moniker of black and knowing black is akin to death and law, and us not going by ADOS, FBA, or some other moniker besides black and Black Lives Matter. I think this was the whole thing around the White Lives Matter shirt, to dispel these things behind blackness, right? Because we have a new level of blackness now, but we've never, and with that, when I've been talking about these dueling black consciousness that exists now, because you have the feminist LGBT black consciousness that exists post BLM and post George Floyd. Out of BLM, see, BLM linked blackness to LGBTQ issues. And now with Ice Cube and people of my age are seeing that if you do not support LGBTQ issues, you are seen as a Nazi or a socialist and not quote unquote black. And this is part of us not dealing with our blackness and our value of our blackness in America, that we were devalued to the point where we were being killed. There were free kills going on in America. And this is why you had the Black Lives Matter protests. I think I'm starting my podcast with this because this is all about the value that we have and worth that we have for ourselves when we look and understand and unpack these issues. Because a lot of us are discussing the affirmative action issue from a feeling standpoint, and we don't have the facts. What I really want to do today is present a couple videos to present you facts, so that when we move forward in the Black manosphere, we can talk about this intelligently, right? So that is what I want to do. Oh man, I had some sticky notes. But I don't have my sticky notes anymore. I have some Post-it notes around here I'm looking for, but I don't see them. Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the comment. Let me make sure I share the video. Let me make sure I share the video before we load up our first video. We just got a couple videos. We're going to share and have a good time. Make sure you vote in the poll. Make sure everybody vote in the poll. Watching the replay. Thank you, everybody who watched on the replay. Thank you, everybody who hit the like button, support the channel. How's your Friday going? Let me know in the chat how your Friday going. I don't mean to have dead airspace. I need somebody to talk to me. Talk to me, I talk back. Talk to me, I talk back. How y'all Friday going, man? So I'm sharing the show right now. so I can get some viewers in here. It always, helps the show go better when you got people watching you. But like me and Roger always say, I'm gonna do this shit if nobody watching me. Perfectly Said podcast, Team Perfect. It is Ike My Fault Friday. We excited to be in the building. I'm excited because I believe I'm gonna bring forth some information that I haven't seen. Now, some of the interviews that I've seen, now I've been leaving comments. One of the interviews I just saw, I'm very proud of the young lady because she did mention the fact that affirmative action changes, then tuition, the enrollment of blacks and the UCs was only 7%. Because we have data. We had affirmative action taken down in California. Shout out to Ward Connolly and his daughter. Ward Connolly is a black UC regent. Him and his daughter worked to get Prop 209 passed in California as a black man. Since Prop 209 passed in California, the admissions for blacks in Ivy League and UC schools have failed by 50%. The same thing is true in all states, Michigan and all states that removed affirmative action. So the problem is that chattel slavery happened. After chattel slavery, you had Jim Crow, you had redlining, you had the Great Society. These things really happened. We are 50 years from that. We are living in single motherhood era now, where single motherhood is linked to poverty. Poverty is linked to low test scores and incarceration rates. But you will find that the next thing that's going to follow this affirmative action is a crime bill, because what the logic is behind this affirmative action is we don't care. The same thing that was said with the crime bill. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care about slavery. The Asian is saying, I don't care that you were in slavery. I don't care that you had redlining. I don't care about systemic racism that still exists today. I don't care that the test scores are a way to game and cheat the system, because rich people, just like in Hollywood, does anybody fucking forget that we just had this thing in Hollywood where the Hollywood people were paying for test scores? Why were they paying for test scores? Because all you need when you get rid of affirmative action is a good test score. So you can buy a good test score to get you into any college. But what that little white bitch say, I don't even like going here. I'm filling out all of my classes. This is the facts. This is the facts. This is what's happening right now. This is the facts on the ground. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to do my podcast because I love doing my podcast. But this issue, being in the Bay Area, being in Northern California, being 40 years old, actually living and voting against Prop 209, seeing the bullshit that Ward Connolly propagated and his daughter, knowing blacks like Ward Connolly and his daughter, and seeing how they moved out of California after destroy. Look at San Francisco now. It's all right, because this is what racism does all the time. I'm going to show a couple videos that's going to let you know the backlash that's coming from this. There will be a backlash. Because the states that passed it, look at the states that passed it. Michigan, bankrupt, in debt. California, bankrupt, in debt. Detroit, like Vallejo. Failing, Democratic, failing states. You're going to have the same thing in Massachusetts now. And it doesn't matter because the racists get a victory. And the racists get to lie. Like Ketanji Jackson said, and it say that we need to be colorblind in the law, even though we know we don't have a colorblind society. That's how you got the crime bill passed. That's how you got the crime bill passed. That's the same logic. Do y'all know that's what's coming next? With this logic, this is how you get the crime bill passed. Share my show, man. Share my show, man. Y'all tap in, man. Share my show, man. Perfect Time podcast with the Blast is live on your ass. Ain't nobody giving it up like this, man. Share my show, man. Share my show. Let them know, man. Y'all gotta support me, man. When I'm on, I don't care what you doing. You at work. If you 5.0 representative, tap in, put my shit on in the background. Don't say you're gonna watch my shit later. If I'm live, because a lot of people called me when I wasn't going live. A lot of people called me and said, hey, Perfect, you're not doing live streams and this and that. A lot of people said, go live, go live. When my shit is on, you family members tap the fuck in. When my shit is on, call each other, whatever the fuck it take, text each other, get a group chat. When I'm live, tap the fuck in. And when I've asked you to leave a comment after the live stream, leave a comment after the live stream. Tap in, y'all. Tap in, because we gotta, what will happen if you don't support is that this message gets unpromoted and blacks go up, because I'm speaking to a specific audience. And I know that the audience I'm speaking to needs this information. Support the show, brothers and sisters. Support the show, 5.0 family. I love you. I don't really want to have to gun you down. But if you think it's all feelings, you could die with your heart in your hand. All right, all right. Hey, man, it's going to be, I think it's 100. It's triple digits all weekend. 103, 10, 107 tomorrow, 106 on Sunday. God is good, man. Just beautiful Northern California weather. My garden is thriving. I picked my first bell pepper. I got sweet chilies coming in. So, I'm very blessed, man. I just want to say thank you to God. A blessing on everybody who watching. I want to say, y'all see those brothers on my thumbnail? Those are black male Harvard med students. Let's give them some props, man. Those are black male Harvard med students on my thumbnail. I want to say I love you, brothers, and I pray a covering over all the ADOS FBA students at Ivy League schools currently dealing with the backlash of this decision. My prayers, and I pray the ancestor, I know I invigorate the ancestors within you and your bloodline. I activate your DNA with this prayer and these words to empower you to do your best and protect you and prevail you to success. All of my brothers and sisters, amen. Let's get into the first video, man. I'm having so much fun. Let's get into the first video. So what we're going to do, let me intro the video. I have the links in the description. So it's good y'all watch the links and watch the video. Come back. Make sure you vote and leave a comment. So I got the links in the description. And this first video that we got is we're going to give some background. And this video, just so you know, this video was 4 years old. And this lawsuit is over 4 years old. I don't know how many people know how Supreme Court lawsuits work, but you don't start off in the Supreme Court, right? So this lawsuit has been in the works and working its way to the Supreme Court. And this is part of us having Republican presidents, appointing Republican Supreme Court justices, because they've been working toward turning over Roe versus Wade and getting rid of affirmative action for the past 20 years. So this is why it's important to be politically advantageous as an ADOS FBA person and understand these things, because a lot of people are hearing this and seeing this for the first time. But this is not a new case, and it passed in California over 25 years ago. We're going to go to that data after this video, but we got to give context, right? So let me explain to you, let her explain to you, this beautiful Asian American woman, what exactly the case was that prevailed yesterday, how and who started it, what, why, when, and where. This is the Perfect Timing Podcast. You're only going to get this here. This video is 4 years old. This is the context that a lot of people are looking for.
For Asian Americans, it will really determine the role that Asian Americans play in race relations in the future, and whether or not we will be duped by misinformation about an Asian penalty in college admissions, or whether we will stand up for more access to education for all. Blum and his organization, Students for Fair Admissions, have brought a case against Harvard alleging discrimination against Asian Americans. And the case really rests on two kinds of challenges or claims. The first is that Asian Americans would be admitted to places like Harvard in higher numbers if their admissions were based on test scores alone. But test scores alone have been shown empirically to be a really poor measure of future success in college and of aptitude in general.
For those of you listening, please take note. Even if you're listening in the replay, that's going to come up a lot, and you're going to hear that a lot. Glenn Beck and everyone or the proponents are saying that they want qualified doctors. They want the person with the highest test score in the school because they want qualified pilots. Please listen to the logic and understand that this is a falsehood. When they say that they want to be judged on test scores, they're lying to you because they understand this is white privilege and the way for whiteness to game the system. Okay? Pay attention to this test score demographic.
General. However, test scores are really good at measuring two things: parents' education and parents' income. And I don't think very many of us would support using either of those two things as the primary criteria for admissions to college. And yet, that's exactly what this lawsuit is arguing for. The second kind of claim of the lawsuit is that Asian Americans face discrimination on the personal rating. And I think that really cuts to the heart of a lot of anxieties that Asian Americans feel about the kind of discrimination that they face in US society. Could we be facing, for instance, stereotypes that paint us as one-dimensional nerds? The important thing to understand about this personal rating is that it's not a measure of charisma or charm. It's really a measure of contextual factors and all of the different factors that make us who we are. As a parent of a high schooler who is about to apply to college, I think that my son may face some implicit bias, but other groups, his Black and Latino classmates, will face even more damaging kinds of implicit bias. And this case does nothing to address either of these situations. Asian Americans do face racial discrimination in the US, but I don't think that they should be spending their energy fighting discrimination against a case where there's very little evidence that we face disadvantage. Instead, I think we should turn our attention and our collective energy to fighting discrimination where we face it most acutely. That is in the context of corporate leadership, government representation, at the ballot box. If Asian Americans become more active in trying to end affirmative action in the United States, then I think this really portends some serious problems for Asian Americans in the future, where they will not be seen as trying to protect civil rights and opportunities for others, but will rather be a weapon against the kind of discrimination and disadvantages that other non-white groups face. And I think this is a really dangerous.
So a couple things I want to unpack here for us. Shout out to KP from KC5. Salute, my brother. Couple things I want to unpack here. What she's saying here, she mentioned the fact that there's a score There's a score that's used by Harvard on personality. And part of what's the problem with that Asians won't admit is that Asians are scored on this personality score as being not good leaders, as being weak and ineffective in business. And Asians have offense to that, right? That's what she said by implicit bias. Harvard made up this. Now, for some reason, Asians have taken that out on black men. The second part that she said is that Asians will face a backlash from Americans who will see this as combative, right? So what this is the Anglicizing of Asian America. Well, shout out to Big Daddy Beer Gaming in the building. What this is the Anglicizing of Asians in America. And what she is warning is if Asians tend to fight this battle because Asians want more representation in politics and in business as CEOs and as senators. She said if they to continue on this fight, they will be seen as not the type of people that people will want to vote for. So this is the backlash that I'm getting at, okay? So what you're going to see for the next week is a lot of Asian men celebrating this victory. But then you're going to see some Asian men, namely Vivette, Indians are Asian also, run for president and get upset when they don't get votes, when they don't get the black vote, when they don't get the Hispanic vote, when they don't get the minority vote. Right? This is gonna be in a huge Achilles heel on the ability of the Asian to particulate into power in politics and business and all other facets of America. But they wanted this. They wanted this victory, right? Because they wanted to Anglicize themselves. Asians see themselves, Asian men specifically, as the next white men in America. They want to position themselves after the white collapse with the white birth rate to be the next superior in America. So they're not trying to get political power things now. They're trying to be the same white racist man as the white man. And I believe, like this Asian American woman here, that there's going to be a backlash. I believe there's going to be a backlash. I liked Andrew Yang. He had good points. Dave Chappelle supported him. After this decision, and after the way Asians are celebrating this decision, despite the data, it's going to be very difficult for an Asian American to run for a prominent office in America. That's just facts. And that's what this Asian American woman pointed out, and they're ignoring that. But we're not going to ignore that. I got another video I want to show you, because now that I've given context of the fact that how this lawsuit was started, that this lawsuit started over 4 years ago by a doctor and his son. And this lawsuit genesis is the fact that Harvard, not blacks, who are not empowered to be racist. Let's understand this. Blacks are not empowered to be racist, right? These affirmative action quotas exist because of chattel slavery, redlining, Jim Crow, and the Great Society put blacks into a spiral of poverty. Poverty is linked to low test scores. Poverty is also linked to incarceration rates. So we cannot admit blacks on test scores because of the ramifications of systemic racism in America. So these affirmative action quotas was created because of the ramifications and downstream effects of all of these racial practices in America. We can't use test scores to test black men and black boys and girls. But there are some very high aptitude blacks, Negroes in America, and we can find that out in other ways besides test scores. And you know what they did with affirmative action? They successfully found highly aptable blacks who went on to graduate and become Michelle Obama, Barack Obama. What's Barack Obama's best friend who went to Harvard with him, who did the acting? They got in on affirmative action. I got to show this other video. So you could understand how complex this is about what the truth is. A lot of people watching me are not from California. I'm from California. So y'all don't know the truth about this right here. So let me show this video so you can see, you know, in the black manosphere, there's a lot of black men who ghost watch me. and they go as some of the black men have been to college, so they have an opinion on this. I've worked in colleges, I've been in college, and I think a lot of times we talk about stuff without actually knowing. So I'm going to present to you data today. A scientist in a scientific study, because it's the black manosphere, and I'm a black male and a black content creator, and a lot of times none of the things that we do as black men are good enough, man. And it's never accepted by our own people. Every time we got something to say, somebody got something to say about it. So what I've learned to do as a content creator, especially being a black man in the black manosphere, is to provide receipts. That's all. Provide receipts. For everybody ghost watching and everybody watching in the replay who want to talk shit about affirmative action, who want to say, just work hard and the best person with the best test score should get in. It's almost like I should have waited a week to make this show so I could let the idiots say the stupid shit without having any basis for what they're saying. But God moved me to do the show today. So I'm going to do the show today, and I'm going to present the science and the data right now, so you can understand what really happened with this Supreme Court decision. All right? Because Prop 209 was passed in California over 20 years ago. So we could take a look at California and we could see what were the numbers before Prop 209 and what were the numbers after Prop 209. What does it look like as far as the quality of education of the students before affirmative action and after affirmative action? Let's take a look at the science and the data.
Different approaches towards admissions to make their campuses more diverse. Considering an applicant's race, generally called affirmative action, has long been standard at universities from UPenn to Harvard, but not anymore. The Supreme Court has ruled that no college in the US can consider an applicant's race in admissions. 9 states have already banned this practice. California did almost 25 years ago. Just enough time for a detailed study on its consequences.
Once you have the data set in hand, there's an awful lot you can learn, honestly, pretty quickly, right? Basically, what I'm doing is just differences in means.
So for people who want to look up the study, this is the guy right here. I'm going to read it to you. His name is Zachary Bleemer, and he is the author of Affirmative Action, Mismatch, and Economic Mobility After California's Prop 209. So if you want to look up the study and you want to get the actual science on it, there you go. Back to the video.
Happened to the kids after 98, what happened to the kids before 98. Just those comparisons tell you an awful lot about not just what happened in California, but I think what we can expect to happen across the country.
Here's how affirmative action changed college admissions and what the future of higher education might look like without it.
As a first responder, extrication.
If somebody was watching, I would give a fuck, but I'm by myself. So we back.
Action. Selecting which of these student applicants would be accepted was fairly simple. Most colleges would essentially filter students. They'd set factors like a minimum GPA or a minimum test score, and voila, there's your pool of accepted students. Obviously, the more selective the school, the higher those standards were. But
a big part of both test scores and grades are pre-18 educational investment and, honestly, non-educational investment. The degree to which you had a stable household, the degree to which you had some notion of being able to focus on your work. The better a high school you go to, the better the test score you get. The better sort of access to resources outside of high school, like tutoring or other services that you had access to before 18, the better you test.
It's clear if you break down SAT scores by the background of the student. Students from higher income households score higher. Same if you look at who grew up in a household with a parent with a graduate degree versus no degree. That also reflects in race, with Black and Hispanic students scoring lower than white and Asian students. So in the 1970s, when UC Berkeley's admissions really just looked at GPA and test scores, the student population was less than 5% Black and Hispanic.
Students who might have been really high ability just weren't able to get the kind of education that would lead them to the kind of high standardized tests that would get them into a school like Berkeley. These schools recognized that they needed some way of admitting those students, and so they started affirmative action policies to try to bring in students from sort of every part of, in this case, the state of California.
So in the 80s, they began considering race in their admissions decisions. It worked. By the 90s, they would chart students on a social diversity index. If you were low income and a minority and had moderate grades and test scores, you were in. If you were high income and white, you needed higher scores to get in. Some colleges, like the UC Davis School of Medicine, used quotas, utilizing a similar filtering system, but a few spots would be reserved for minority applicants. In the late 70s, a white student named Backy fell here. Not good enough to get in among other white applicants, but with higher test scores and GPA than the minority students who got in. He sued, claiming discrimination. It made it to the Supreme Court, he won, and was admitted. The court ruled that while the goal of achieving a diverse student body is sufficiently compelling to justify consideration of race in admissions decisions, specific quotas went too far. More than 24 Supreme Court cases have followed, including the landmark Grutter v. Bollinger in 2003, which upheld that race could be considered as part of a highly individualized, holistic review of each applicant's file. That's essentially how affirmative action has worked the last 20 years. Instead of just filtering a pool of applicants, most colleges look at each person individually. Like Harvard will look at SAT and GPA, but also things like extracurricular activities, essays, awards, life experiences, recommendations, leadership, and yes, race.
Another huge piece that I think we can't leave out as Black men in the Black manosphere in this conversation, that this actually changed in 2003 to where I think a lot of Black people who will comment Black conservatives, I consider myself a Black conservative. I'm just not an asshole. I just study facts, right? And I've actually, I'm actually an academic, so I've actually seen this effects on the ground. I think a lot of people making comments about this haven't been to college, don't understand the ramifications and downstream effects in society in these higher places of academia without affirmative action, what it looks like and what it looked like before. But since 2003, they're making a decision on an individual basis. How could it be more fair than that? What they want it to be is unfair. What I want to wake people up to is that this is, again, an ugly head rearing itself of what unfairness and whiteness looks like and racism looks like. These white and Asians want an unfair advantage. That's what this is about. I asked Google, before I started, I said, Google, what is the percentage of Black students at Harvard now? You know what Google told me? 37% white, 14% Asian, 6% Black, 6% Black. The Asians currently, before this decision, had double the amount of students at Harvard. And even with affirmative action, you still are at 5% Blacks at Harvard. Over 37% white at Harvard. That's with affirmative action. What will happen after this is you will see that 5% go down to at least 2%, possibly 1 to 0%. We're looking at 1 to 2 Blacks. Who wants to be that one Black student? Raise your hand. Who wants to be that one Black student? Let's get back to the video.
But this is exactly what the Supreme Court has now struck down. In two separate cases against Harvard and the University of North Carolina, plaintiffs argued this holistic approach was just a cover for discrimination against white and Asian students. The Supreme Court agreed, ruling that eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. The student must be treated based on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race. Many universities have for too long done just the opposite, which means in this holistic review, race can no longer be considered.
To the degree that these universities want to maintain their current level of racial diversity, California has shown that that is infeasible, at least given the policies that California has tried to implement.
In the 90s, Californians voted for Proposition 209, which banned public universities from considering race. Zach Bleemer conducted a massive study in California, following students that applied before and after Prop 209, looking at where they eventually enrolled, graduated, and then at their wage statements.
So you can see, so long as they stay in the state of California, where they work and how much they earn all the way through 2020, 25 years almost after the affirmative action ban was implemented.
What he found was that Black and Hispanic enrollments at more selective schools, like Berkeley, dramatically fell when they couldn't include race in their admissions process. Moderately selective schools had almost no change, but enrollment at less selective schools actually rose. Because most Black and Hispanic students didn't not go to college, they just went to less esteemed ones.
You got this cascade effect of Black and Hispanic students, on average, enrolling at a university that's just a little bit less selective than the universities they used to have access to. Kids who used to go to Berkeley are now going to UC Davis. Kids who used to go to UC Davis are now going to UC Santa Cruz. What happened is pretty substantial negative ramifications for these students.
They became less likely to earn STEM degrees, less likely to go to graduate school. Those with the lowest GPA and test scores became less likely to even graduate.
I just I just wanted to tell you how much I love y'all, and I want to give you, this the barbershop, this the black barbershop. This the data right here. So y'all can play this perfect timing podcast video back. If you get into a debate about affirmative action and what's going to happen, you could bring up California and Michigan and let them know about a real scientific study, because a lot of times when we have these debates in the 2023 era, people want to say you just talking about your feelings. What actual data do you have to back it up? So if you get into this debate, you can actually back it up with actual real data. What they are saying is that pre and post, that people are even less likely to graduate. We're getting, and it's evident when you go on a plane, when you go to hire a lawyer, we have less quality there. You don't have Barack Obamas. You don't have Michelle Obamas. You have poorer quality individuals post Prop 209, post affirmative action, because now we're not actually looking for the best and the most intelligent student, because we know definitively that test scores do not correlate to intelligence. Shout out to my brother Truth, as I know it, in the building. We know test scores do not correlate to intelligence, right? So you can purchase a good test score. A lot of black people don't know what a PSAT is. You heard about the SAT? Well, I grew up in an affluent home, right? So if you grew up in an affluent home and you go to a good school, you know what you get? You get the PSAT. It's a practice SAT. But in the inner city school, my cousins who lived in the inner city, they didn't even get a PSAT. They didn't get training and testing and study for the PSAT. Imagine if you get the training and study for the PSAT in your public school, how confident do you feel? And how much higher did I test than my cousins in the inner city on my SAT? Shout out to Hot Sauce and Tampa Bomb. Hot Sauce and Tampa Bomb, their jobs is they prepare students to get into Ivy League schools. Part of preparing students to get into Ivy League schools is getting them the PSAT and helping them study to get a high score on the SAT by hiring a tutor, because there's a way to take the test the way you can score high. What do you mean, Perfect? You can game the system? Yes, you can game the system. What do you mean, Perfect? You can buy an election? Yes, you can buy an election. What do you mean perfect? You can buy your degree? Yes, you can buy your degree. Affirmative action was the only thing that equaled the playing field in America where these things are still true, where you can still buy your degree, you can still buy an election. And for black people who have been disenfranchised from wealth, who don't have the ability to purchase these things, affirmative action was the only way that you got qualified black people like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama in Harvard Law. Michelle Obama would not be in Harvard Law if it were not for affirmative action. That's not to say that she didn't score highly on her tests. That's not to say that she didn't outscore the Asians and the whites on her tests. Back to the video, just so you had the proof. What my brother Truth say? One time you said Boomer BW love the movie Mommy Dearest, that's right. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. I had that experience, but I never heard anyone say that before. I wanted to know more. Yeah, we could get into that, man. That's an actually good thing because that brings up, you know, my whole relationship with my mom. And that's a good conversation because one of the things that were missed in the statistics when they show income as it relates to test scores is they left off that chart single motherhood. And this week in my first video back, I discussed the champion, and today we discuss how single motherhood has been championed. And I said why in the Black manosphere we speak against single motherhood, not necessarily speaking against Black women and saying that it's Black women's fault, but just giving the facts on that single motherhood is linked to poverty. The number one driver of poverty in America right now is the single parent home. And the number one link is to incarceration. What I said in the video supporting Mr. Let Go is single parent homes. So when you look at test scores, come on everybody. When you look at test scores as it correlates to single parent, single mother homes, you're going to see low test scores, but that don't mean me and brothers created in these environments in these single parent homes don't have high aptitude. But the way the law speaks to now, if you don't get a PSAT, if you don't score highly on your SAT, no one will know about your aptitude because they don't care any longer. So this single mother thing is not no joke. Everybody poo-poos the Black manosphere, but the single mother is directly related to incarceration, poverty, and test scores, and now it's going to be directly related to admission and enrollment in Ivy League schools and colleges. Y'all pay attention.
And overall, Black and Hispanic students earned less in their careers than those admitted before Prop 209.
One thing we've learned from affirmative action bans is that the kids who are admitted to more selective universities as a result of race-based affirmative action tend to receive greater value from those institutions in terms of the degree to which those institutions lead them to more successful jobs or more success generally in the labor market than the white or Asian students who tend to take their places after the end of affirmative action programs.
Bleemer has also studied.
Shout out to Kevin C. Shout out to Kevin C. I don't even know if Kevin C. watched me, but did you hear that? It makes me think about some of the things that Kevin C. has taught us about how they're losing over $1 billion a year by not hiring Black men. What he just said is that with the Prop 209, with taking away affirmative action, not only do you get less high aptitude Blacks, but you end up with less highly qualified Asians and whites. What you end with the Asians and whites who take their place are dumber and they do worse. They don't graduate, and even after graduation, they do worse than the Blacks who were admitted on affirmative action. Let me say that again. He said that the Asians and whites that took the place of the Blacks who got in on affirmative action had worse grades and did worse in life as far as how much money they made after graduating than the Blacks who got in the Michelles and the Barack Obamas. Do you understand what he said? He said the Michelles and the Barack Obamas who were admitted to Harvard on affirmative action made more money and did more with their lives post-graduation than the Asians who took the place of the people who got in. That means America is willing to lose just so you lose, brother. America is willing to lose. This is what Roger was saying this morning. This is why we got to love ourselves. This is what Kevin C was saying. They losing $1 billion by not hiring black men. You see all these help wanted signs. They purposely not hiring black men. Forbes and Wall Street Journal said that America is losing $1 billion by not hiring black men. Now we're saying, and then if you listen to Glenn Beck and all the racists are saying that I want more qualified pilots. I want my surgeon to be the most qualified. But when the truth is, by the data and the numbers, that Glenn Beck, guess what? You're getting a dumber surgeon. When they remove affirmative action, you're getting a dumber surgeon. You're getting a dumber pilot. The whites and Asians who take the place of those blacks are stupider and perform lower throughout their life. That's just the data, Glenn Beck. Vivette, back to the video.
Studied the effects of what's called race-neutral admissions policies, which can include outreach and income-based admissions, as has Georgetown University. They both found the same result.
It seems like all of these race-neutral alternatives that universities can implement have a tendency toward increasing the diversity of campuses, but they don't get you anywhere close to the level of racial diversity that's provided by race-based affirmative action.
Harvard said if it were to not include race in their holistic review, Black and Hispanic enrollment will decline by almost half. Berkeley, even though it has made strides since Prop 209 to enroll more Hispanic students, the Black student population is still below where it was when it could consider race in admissions.
I think we'll see declines in Black and Hispanic enrollment, potentially in some cases quite severe declines in the next couple of years. And as a result, you're going to have this sort of down. I think we'll see declines.
I said this in a comment I left for Glenn Beck. Now let's look at this. Let's look at this. I'm gonna go full screen. Let's look at this. I love science and graphs. I remember when I first, I'm a technical trainer by trade, and I love like all the Microsoft. My brother had A+ certifications. I'm certified in Epic, which is a EMR, which is built on the Microsoft platform. But I remember when I first started as an admin, I got a certification in all the Microsoft Office suites, and I love Excel and being able to plot out graphs and numbers. And when people would make jokes about Venn diagrams, I knew about the Venn diagram because I would play in the software. This is how I was good at my job, because I would play around with the software. And I would play it. So I knew what a Venn diagram was because I had played with it. So I knew what it was. Because the way, as a Black professional, the way you get promoted and the way you keep your job is you need to have the answer before they ask the question. And it's not fair, but that's just the way it is, right? So what the truth is, I learned from my father, who was also a Black professional, is you have a lot of downtime. And this is the thing that they don't tell you when you're at work. Like, it's just like in college, you have a lot of downtime, and you should be utilizing that downtime. And I learned that from my father. So a lot of times, you know, white people got this term called grab ass. So a lot of times during the downtime, white people playing grab ass at work. But I would be in the software. I would be studying and perusing the things, and even going above and beyond. So if my boss ever had a question, if I didn't have an answer, I was familiar with it because I'd already looked at it during my downtime. So I like the graph. So I was talking about the numbers, and I wanted to come back to this because it went by kind of fast, and I just wanted to take a look at it. So this is percentages over here, right? So this is 1973, and we're talking about the black is the red is the Black, and the yellow, this yellow gold is Hispanic, right? Latino. So 1973, you see Blacks at the UC Berkeley below 5%. Below 5%. And then all the way to 2023. So you see when affirmative action was enacted, you see the Hispanics spiked almost triple. Hispanics almost triple with affirmative action, right? We had a slight uptick, So this is more like, what is this? More like 3% at our lowest. But this looks like there was a time where Hispanic enrollment was even lower than blacks, right? In the mid 70s, Hispanic enrollment was even lower than blacks. And then you have us at our lowest here, mid 70s. And then at our highest right here, it looks like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And it looks like maybe we got the 7%, where Hispanics got the 15, all double us. But our highest was at 7%. And then now back down to even lower than what it was in 1973. This is the thing about what the conversations that we be having, even lower than what it was in 1973. So if you look at this, and again, like I said, I asked Google in research for this show, what is the racial makeup of Harvard today? And Google said Harvard is 37% white, 14% Asian, it was 13.7, and 6.7% black. That's what it is today. So if they know already by the data and by the science that number is going to go down by 50% and that the Asian and white number is going to go up, are we having a conversation? Are we having a conversation as blacks, as descendants of slavery, FBA, foundational Black Americans? Because we got to talk about what he just said. So when our numbers go down, when this vote today, the numbers of black students in Harvard will go down. But you have to understand, as we being the Black Americans, the descendants of slavery, my great grandma being a slave, that the white and Asian numbers will go up, bro. The white and Asian numbers will go up. Did you see that? Did you see that in the graph? The Hispanic and the black numbers will go down by 50%, and the whites and the Asians will take those slots. Y'all know what the fuck just happened? Is anybody paying attention to what the fuck just happened? Do you know what the fuck just happened? Unqualified, less qualified. I don't think you heard what he said by the data. Our numbers will go down by 50%, and less qualified whites and Asians will take your place. That's what happened, bro. That's what happened in California over the past 20 years. That's what's going to happen at Harvard. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what's the answer? I'm not a motherfucking politician. I'm just telling you the fucking data right now. This is what the fuck is the truth, and this is what happened in California. You have dumber lawyers, dumber doctors, dumber pilots, less qualified Asians and whites will take your place due to this Supreme Court decision, because they have voted that black and color blindness and fucking racism doesn't exist. They are smiling ear to ear on every fucking news network, and we want to talk about black pussy. Shout out to my brother, I'm listening in the building. All right, man, let's finish this video. I got one more video. We're going to get up out of here.
In Black and Hispanic enrollment, potentially, in some cases, quite severe declines in the next couple of years. And as a result, you're going to have this sort of downward shift, Black and Hispanic students enrolling at less selective schools than they had access to previously. There's no clear silver bullet for such universities just to maintain diversity as it is right now.
Fair use. Fair use. Fair use. What's up to my family, man? What's up? We got one more video to present about this other topic. Supreme Court is on your ass. Huh? Supreme Court is on your ass. So y'all heard about Biden giving away that money for college tuition that would primarily go to black women. Shout out to the Black Manosphere. Shout out to all my brothers in the building. I'm listening in the building. Truth as I know it. We got Big Daddy Beer Gaming. KP from KC5. And today's show is sponsored by my good brother KNC and Red. KNC in Red said he wasn't getting the notifications. So everybody, make sure you know when you subscribe, you hit that notification bell. And like I said to you before, a lot of people, we assume that my listeners know what a notification bell is. Well, on the screen underneath this podcast, you're going to see subscribe, and you're going to see what looks like an old school bell. You must click on that, and it's going to present you with a couple options. If you don't choose nothing, you won't get no notifications. You're going to have to either tell YouTube that you want or don't want notifications. If you don't pick anything, then I guarantee you, you will not get notified. But a lot of people don't want to put it on the highest alert because you feel like you're going to get too much notifications. Well, perfect time, it don't go live that much. So don't feel pressure when you put mine on high alert. I'm going to be going live every day at 3 p.m. PST. So don't even sweat it. If you don't want it, just know I'll be here every day at 3 p.m. But in order to get the notifications, hit that school bell and click the very, very up top selection to get all notifications. And that just means you'll get every notification. So let's get into the video. And again, this video, just to give you an interest in the video. So today we had two topics, right? Affirmative action being gutted, and then the Supreme Court striking down the $430 billion student loan forgiveness that Biden promised Black women. I'm gonna say that one more time. Supreme Court strikes down $430 billion student loan forgiveness. That Biden promised Black women. So let's take a listen. I'm going to be reacting to this for the first time. It's the first time you heard about this. This decision just came down. Hey, y'all, I love y'all. I'm very proud of the content that we present here in the Black Manosphere. We have a lot of intelligent Black men who are doing the work. I said the other day that a lot of people get the mistake that when they talk and say, oh, those Black male podcasters, and there's a running joke right now of the comedians, they talking about Black men on YouTube and Black men with podcasts, you know, making fun of us as if we only are discussing Black women in relationships. They have no idea the work that's being done as far as mental health, as far as the growth of the Black male psyche, physically, spiritually, financially. Shout out to Alonzo Hall, the financial all-star. And today, you know, I do my one too. We just giving more education to broaden to broaden the whole shit. Let's push play.
Program, which was set to wipe out nearly $430 billion in debt. The 6-3 decision signals to millions of borrowers that they must begin paying back their debt after a 3-year pause as a result of the pandemic.
For borrowers around the country who had been making financial decisions based on the hope that they would see this forgiveness, it could have major implications to their pocketbooks.
Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, which was announced last August, sought to permanently forgive up to $20,000 in federal student debt for millions of Americans.
95% of the borrowers can benefit from these actions. That's 43 million people.
More than 26 million people applied for the program or were automatically eligible. And of those 26 million, more than 16 million were approved for loan cancellation by the Education Department. The plan would cost the federal government more than $400 billion.
The question is really whether the president has the authority himself to wipe away potentially hundreds of billions of dollars in student loan debt, or whether Congress needed to give explicit authority to the president to do that.
Chief Justice John Roberts said in the opinion that while the Education Secretary, a member of President Biden's cabinet, has the authority to waive or modify existing statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act, he is not allowed to rewrite that statute from the ground up. Writing in dissent for the court's 3 liberals, Justice Elena Kagan accused the majority of exceeding the court's proper limited role in our nation's governance. Before Biden's forgiveness proposal, borrowers were already receiving debt relief after President Trump announced a suspension on payments due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 3 years later, those who were hoping to see at least some of their loans forgiven will have to restart their payments.
Not only are they going to have to resume payments for the first time in 3 years, but they're also going to have to potentially pay on a larger balance than they might have expected before.
Once resumed, the typical student loan payment will be between $210 and $314 a month, according to a Wells Fargo report. And those payments come at a time when borrowers are facing higher prices and inflation.
People have gotten used to not having to make these payments, and they've used that money for other things. That money is now going to need to be put towards something different. And so that could really change the way that households dole out their payments every month.
The share of households with student loan debt has more than doubled from 1989 to 2019, with 30% of Black households, 20% of white households, and 14% of Hispanic households holding debt in 2019.
If you're paying back student loans through this, they call it income-based repayment, my plan is to cut your payments in half.
On the 2020 campaign trail, Biden promised that he would erase or significantly reduce student loan debt. And he campaigned on his executive action again before last year's midterm elections.
We're following through on a promise I gave to millions of Americans with student loans, just a little more breathing room.
So as we enter the 2024 election season, it will be notable to see who voters blame for this outcome. Do they blame Republicans and conservative majority Supreme Court for striking it down? Or do they blame President Biden for maybe getting out ahead of his skis and putting forward a proposal that would eventually be struck down in the court?
Publicly, the Biden administration projected confidence about the legality of their student loan forgiveness plan.
We are confident in our legal authority to carry out this program, and we won't let these baseless lawsuits stop us either.
But in private, they've been preparing for this very outcome. They've considered a bunch of different potential policies in response. The main one would allow borrowers with lower incomes to pay a smaller amount on the balance of their loans over time, and then eventually have the rest of their payment either reduced or forgiven. And separately, they've discussed also putting a temporary ban on penalties for people who aren't able to pay their loans. That would essentially prevent.
Let's go back to that graph. Let's take a look at this graph, because I think these things are related, right? I think the Supreme Court, they do this. They put these cases together. These rulings were not the same case, and they came out on different days. This ruling came out today. The ruling on affirmative action came out yesterday, but it's not a coincidence that they both are related to college, one admissions and one student loan debt. So let's take a look at this graph and unpack what this is right here. This is shareholders of households with student loan debt. The black is in red. Once again, why is black always in why is black always the worst and it's always in red? It's like, red is negative, right? So black is, you can't put black in black because the graph is in black. So what's the next most negative thing? Red. Just like redlining, put them in a red line. Put these niggas in a red line. Black is red, red is negative, black is death. God, dog, they don't even play with it. Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it. So here it is, right? So again, we got years and then we got percentages, right? So the graph starts at 1990 with the share of households with student loan debt by race and ethnicity in black at 10%. It's almost equal, right? On par. It's the highest in America, but not that much higher than everyone else, right? It's about on par. Everybody is around that 10% mark. And then we look at the graph, we should look at it like that. When is the explosion, right, of households and student loan debt? Again, I say these two things are not unrelated, because when do you see the spike? You see the spike when affirmative action is enacted. Then don't you guys notice that? Hello? Don't you guys notice that? You see a spike of student loan debt when affirmative action comes into play. Why? Because more blacks are able to go to college, but they can't afford it. So again, we have a problem with America and being broke in debt, and then you start saying, No, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. You say, aha. Yeah, and you say, something comes to mind. Something smells rather shitty around here, huh? Something comes to mind. So you're telling me, Perfect, that when affirmative action passes, that less qualified Asian and whites will take the place of more qualified blacks, but also, Perfect, that it will be less student loan debt for the government to take on also. And we're talking about large numbers, Perfect. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. It looks like since affirmative action, Perfect, yes, you blacks love going to college. Yeah, we got Barack Obama, Michelle Obama. Yes, the blacks that go to college do well, even do better than whites and Asians, but they don't pay the bill. So with affirmative action, all we did was incur a lot of debt. And the white man is saying to himself, along with the Asian, was it worth it? Because you ended up with a black president. Do you want another black president? Was it worth the money you spent to get all these black professionals and these black people competing with you? Was it worth the money you spent? I'm breaking it down. I don't know if you want to break it down and look at it like this, but that's what it is. Is it worth the money you spent? And this is reparations. People don't like that word, but this is reparations. And this is white people and Asian people saying you don't get reparations, because what it was the government spending money to create Michelle Obama. What's Barry's partner's name? Because he ADOS. What's the brother name who adopted the black son, who was an actor that was Barack Obama's best friend? Because he went to Harvard with him and he's an actor. You got him in the books he wrote. A black man who adopted a black boy. He still ain't got married. Shout out to that brother. That's the product of reparations and what reparations look like. Reparations look like Michelle Obama, Barack Obama best friend, but it costs this kind of money. It costs America money to produce those blacks. And what this decision is saying, that America's not going to spend the money anymore. America doesn't feel like it owes you and that it's responsible for the way that blacks are in poverty anymore, because they've sold everybody on the fact that it's the single mother's fault and it's the gangbanger and Pookie's fault. And we didn't know that this was we didn't know that this was reparations in the form of affirmative action. Hundreds of millions of dollars was spent to send you to college. And the Supreme Court in 2 days said, fuck that. Pay up, nigga, and get the fuck out. Y'all heard what I said. The Supreme Court said in 2 days, pay up, nigga, and get the fuck out. I know it will be less students at Harvard that are black ADOS. I don't give a fuck. I know that I put you in poverty and you can't afford the student loan debt, which is the only reason Biden ran on this shit. I don't give a fuck. Pay up. Even though you ain't got it, inflation then went up and money is worth less. I don't care. Think about when the Supreme Court is saying this. The dollar is worthless. In July, FedNow is launching, BlackRock launched the ETF of a CDC. You have every major bank launching a CDC. You have FedNow launching a CDC. Hold on. Hey everybody, that's Mrs. Perfect Timing. It's only when you go live, like the people who love you pretend like, and it be important. I be wanting the people. I said already, the people who love me, I want you watching my live stream, not calling my cell phone while I'm live. It's so hurtful, bro. It's like the people who love me, even if you not even fucking not able to watch it, put my shit on in the background. You know what I'm saying? When you get my notification, put my shit on. Don't fucking call me, because that even make me feel even worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm live. Like, the whole point is motherfuckers supposed to be watching you. This YouTube shit is difficult. Don't fucking call me while I'm live. I need you to be watching me while I'm live. Put me on in the background. Fuck. We got text messages, all type of shit. Don't call me while I'm live. That make me feel like shit. Motherfuckers supposed to be watching me. Don't be calling me while I'm fucking live, acting like, oh, I didn't know, and I don't give a fuck that you doing your passion, even though I know you love going live. You know what I'm saying? Fuck what you doing. Fuck what you about. I want to talk to you about what the fuck I want to talk about. That's so selfish. Don't do that. If you give a fuck about me, man, I mean that. This is my passion. Is the YouTube shit, the podcast, and I put a lot into it. If you give a fuck about me, man, watch my shit, man. Put the notification bell on it. There's a correlation between the two cases. In this expose, black women didn't come up. The black race came up, and we already know the numbers of graduates that are black women when it comes to this number in this chart. When it talks about black, it didn't say the percentage of these people that are women. We know already because we're in the black manosphere. And we know what Biden said. Biden made this promise to black women, and that's how Biden got the election. Biden got the election because he made this promise. So where do you go from here, black women? As Biden doesn't come through on his campaign promise right before the. Now we have SCOTUS. We have a Republican-led Supreme Court handing a vicious, two vicious blows to the Democratic president right before a presidential run, right before Joe Biden, Democratic president, liberal king, runs for his next presidential presidency. He has to go into that campaign with a blow of no more affirmative action, and that emissions at Harvard will go down by 50%, and the fact that he can't make whole on his campaign promise to black women on forgoing their college debt. Let's see what Truth said. The new tax law, where they are now taxing Cash App and Venmo, is probably the entryway into taxing crypto. Exactly. We already got the Fed now. Y'all check that out. And check out BlackRock and the ETF. Check out all the other major banks and them acquiring the ability. ETF is them investigating into what it would be to have a cryptocurrency, and all the other major banks going to go get their own cryptocurrencies. And then they kick people off welfare and influence them to take out school loans. Correct. I feel like if you look at this, what you're seeing is a form of reparations, and we didn't appreciate it and understand it. Those of us who were in college and went to college and saw the experience of college, we understood what affirmative action and because we had and then like she said, our lives after college, because all of us worked so hard because we had these parents who taught us these things. Like I told you, I didn't waste my downtime. So we worked so hard that even after our college lives and graduations, we did better than our peers professionally and throughout our lives. This was a form of reparations, and it just was cut off. It was a promise made to you, black women, during the campaign that you're student loan debt. Did y'all hear what he said? This is a very complex thing, because what they said is what people applied. 26 million people applied and 16 million people approved. But now the Supreme Court just said no. What do you mean? I was approved already. And there was another person that said, now, the president promised me this. Are you guys hearing this? The president, not my best friend, not my cousin, but the president promised me this, ran this. I voted for him. He won. He created a website and a program alluding to the fact that the program was real because he promised it and he became president. I applied for the program, and then the Department of Education actually approved me and my loan getting forgiven. And now you're saying that that's not true. How do you legally do that to people? What do you do to those 16 million people who got approved? It's not just as simple as what's happening. Do you understand the ramifications with these two decisions? These are huge decisions. What do you do to the admissions office right now? It's summertime. They are admitting people into school right now. Do you guys understand that there are certain blacks who were believing they were going to go to Harvard in September? Now with this decision, Harvard may not be able to admit as many black students as they were certain black students. When does it go into effect? What my brother say? Charles Murray, who wrote The Bell Curve, works for the American Enterprise Institute, conservative policy think tank, and he wants to kick black folks off all government assistance. And that would include affirmative action. And that would include affirmative action. Vivette, who I just seen, who's running for president, an Indian Asian, who's also an Indian Asian American, wants to do the same thing, despite of what it will do to black people in the short term. It's the same logic behind the crime bill. Like, the effects of this right now for blacks is detrimental because it's 2023, inflation is so high, money is so high, we're never going back to pre-pandemic standards. This is happening at the worst possible time for black people in America. Do you guys get that? It's not like we're at this plentiful time for anyone. We're not at a plentiful time for anyone, everyone right now. It's the most competitive time in America, whether or not America is competing with the Ukraine, with Russia, China, Korea. Everyone is hyper competitive now, which is why the Asians pursued this lawsuit the way they pursued it. Because like I told you tonight, that win this lawsuit, when they win this victory, black enrollment at Harvard and Ivy League schools nationwide will go down 50%. But what you need to understand as this debate goes forward is that the students, those black students, will be replaced with white and Asian students who are less qualified than those blacks who were admitted via affirmative action. I mean, there's no bigger lug nut, there's no bigger coffin nail tonight than when that was said and it was backed up by data and numbers. That is not just the fact that Harvard will go down by 50% of blacks and Latinos, right? It's already at, what is it I say? 13.7% Asian, 6% black at Harvard. It will go down to 3% black at Harvard, but the other 3% of the student body will be absorbed by white and Asians who are not as qualified. This law will give you, Glenn Beck, dumber pilots, dumber scientists, dumber surgeons. What is that what you want, Glenn Beck? And then you got to listen to everybody for the next 3 days talk about that this is a good thing, and that means I'm going to get a smarter pilot. When I am presenting you data that is the opposite of these things that you will hear. They are lying to you when they say to you, I want the person with the highest test scores because that correlates to me having the best pilot. That is a lie, and they know so by the data and the science. Higher test scores do not correlate to intelligence and aptitude and success post-graduation. And they got over 50 years of data of that. This is why that lawsuit happened in Hollywood. Y'all remember the lawsuit in Hollywood with the white actresses? And they should have went to jail, y'all. We forget quick. We forget so quick. They were buying test scores. If you have money, you take a tutor and you get a good test score. If you have money, you go to a good high school and you have better GPA than the people in the inner city, and you seeing these tests more. Even if you're an idiot, you score higher than someone in the inner city who's never seen this style of exam, never been through this type of testing and high level of pressure. You score better on your test, but you don't score better in life. And we've known this for over 30 years, which is why we produce better individuals when we had affirmative action. We got Michelle Obama and Barack Obama because your test scores don't correlate to your intelligence, and test scores does not correlate to a better pilot. There's some cold shit that took place today. Thank y'all for listening. We went over an hour. I usually do an hour and 30 minutes, but I'm gonna put my link up there real quick. If anybody want to say what's up real quick, and we're gonna get up out of here. I'm very happy with what I did. I'm excited to see what Yvette Carnell has to say. I'm excited to hear what Tariq Nasheed has to say. I don't know if Tone Talks have said anything about this yet. Tone Talks did a show the other day about Diddy and the owners of Ciroc ending their partnership on some discrimination. So today when we talked on the Roger Report, one of the things I forgot to say is that footsteps in the sand, right? Footprints in the sand. When you have Diddy having this partnership ended on discrimination, what were the footprints in the sand? The footprints in the sand were Kanye West. And all of us who were business savvy saying that that was not legal or prudent for them to end their relationship with Kanye West the way that they did. Kanye would not have been allowed if he were Adidas to do the same. Those were the footprints in the sand. And no one cared because they demonized Kanye and we don't stick together. They told you to hate Kanye and we don't stick together. So now we see Puff, the same thing. Puff, you could go back to Byron Allen and his lawsuit against Comcast. Footprints in the sand. Today we discussed the shooting in Chicago. And one thing I forgot to bring up is the death in the manslaughter case in New York subway. And how Ron DeSantis is referring to the gentleman who murdered the black man on the subway as a hero. Footprints in the sand. A lot of us can't figure out how this black woman has been exonerated and her juvenile delinquent son are now free to cause havoc and sue the city. Footprints in the sand. He's being called a hero for murdering a mentally ill black child. He's being called a hero for murdering a mentally ill black child. He's being called a hero because they want him exonerated. This young black hooligan who had a hood on and a loaded illegal weapon, who murdered and hunted down and continued to shoot another black man, is also being looked at as a hero. Footprints in the sand. So when you see affirmative action being struck down and your campaign promise of $400 million being struck down in the next same 2 days in the same week, footprints in the sand. Don't be surprised of what you see next, because what is happening, and as a black man, I've seen it before, what is happening is a ratcheting up of the devaluing of black heterosexual male life. And that affects overall black American life. But we don't pay attention until it's too late and it's at our door. It's not me, it's the Pookies. It's not me, it's black women. It's not me, it's those niggas. Until all black Americans got their ass in a sling, i.e. all Black Americans will be affected by both of these Supreme Court decisions. I know the campaign promise was made to Black women, but all Black Americans. You see how they do, y'all? You see how they divide and conquer? This is the definition of divide and conquer. While we are arguing about whether or not we love each other when we should love and support each other, male or female, homosexual or not, we need to love and support each other. Pause. They're able to divide and conquer, because whether you're gay or straight or male, female, whatever gender identity, if you're Black, these things affect you and your children greatly. I know he made the promise to Black women, but the law did not just solely apply to Black women. Huh? I know the majority of Black women are in college, but affirmative action was not written specifically and only for Black women. All Black people will be affected by these decisions. Harshly. You have been replaced. The white man, I did a story about the replacement theory. The white man is screaming, "You will not replace me. You will not replace me." Black man, what y'all doing? While we fighting each other, we just got replaced. No one is going to present it to you like that, but I need you to see it like that. It was a chess move by the Asians. They just took you out the game. You just got replaced. On multiple levels, they not only took you out the game, but they took away your ability to play the game by saying, "We not even gonna give you student loans no more, even if you get in, nigga. Even if you get in, nigga. Even if you get in, nigga, you can't pay. No, we not forgiving the loans, despite redlining, despite systemic poverty and racism. We not forgiving the loans, and we not giving a fuck about your race when admissions. This is huge today. I've been talking about dueling Black consciousness. They said it's gonna be a wake-up call. Did you get your Black card? Shout out to my brother Roger. It's a lot of intellectual Ivy League, Atlanta type, Clark University type niggas. Did you get your Black card today? Huh? Did you get your Black card from the Democratic Party today? Huh? I've been telling you about the Democratic Party. Ice Cube said I'm not in the club because Ice Cube ain't part of the Democratic Shields. I just want to know, did you get your Black card? Huh? Because it's going to be less of you now. All of y'all talking shit, talking down to other Blacks, you talented 10th ass niggas, it's going to be less of you now. Did you get your Black card today? Did you get your Black card? He promised you. He promised you. He promised you a loan forgiveness. He gave you a program. You applied for the program. 16 million of you were approved for the program. They just told you no, not the president who is running the country. Who is running the country? They just told you no. How could they tell you no? Do you have a lawsuit? Do 16 million people have a lawsuit? Do we understand what just happened? Do 16 million people have a lawsuit? A president made a promise. Some people might say perfect, that was a campaign promise. A president created an app and an application for Americans to apply. That's implication on the part of the government. You can't just take that back. The White House put out the Board of Education approved these people forgiveness. On behalf of the White House, on behalf of the Board of Education, they created a platform. 16 million people actually received loan forgiveness. They saying they taking it back. Fuck reparations, we in retrorations. Fuck reparations, we in retrorations. You can't go to Ivy League schools no more. and you are not getting money to go to school no more. And the money costs more. The money with inflation, the money costs more. Can these people even afford to pay this money back with inflation? And then, like he said, because people receive forgiveness from the government, think about this. Because people receive forgiveness from the government, they made other life plans like buying houses, buying cars, or sending other children to college because they actually receive forgiveness. Now, what happens? What happens at Harvard in September? What happens at Harvard in September? We gonna see. When that sun go down, we gonna see. Talk that bullshit now. We gonna see. We gonna see. When the sun go down, we gonna see. Talk that bullshit now. We gonna see. Billing on me right now. Feeling on me right now. Talk to me. Nice. Black power. This is what it's about, man. It's a song, it sounds good, but a real constituency is what's needed now. We don't need, like Malcolm X said, right now, we don't need no comedians. We don't need no rappers. We do need Black billionaires. We do need Black lawyers, Black doctors. We do need a real Black constituency who is on code, who understands the data that I put out today, who understands that despite how you feel about affirmative action, the mathematics is that highly intelligent, aptitude Black students will be replaced by less intelligent, low-performing whites and Asians. So now is when we don't need a rapper. Now is when we don't need hip-hop. Now is when we need powernomics. Now is when we need a true Black constituency. This is what the Black manosphere is about. I thank you guys for watching, tuning in, and listening. I feel like it's been a very informative show. I do. I feel like it's been a very informative show. Iced tea. It's 305 degrees. It's 103 or 105. I don't know. 103, 105. I don't know. But it's hot. It's hot. So I'm going to get out of here. It's been a great podcast. I think I feel no, not I think, but I know I've provided you guys with a perfect perspective and some unique points you can go forward. You know, I present information so passionately. A lot of people think that I feel like you have to believe me. I want people to watch me and support me, but you don't have to believe me. I say I'm perfect, I'm not right. I'm presenting my perspective and my opinion. My name is Young Mac Malmang, and this is my opinion. And since I got some time, there's some shit I like to mention. Fuck them punk ass rollers, them punk ass pig patrollers. My name is Young Mac Malmang, and this is my opinion. And since I got some time, there's some shit I like to mention. Fuck them punk ass rollers, them highway punk patrollers. They always pull us over. My name is Young Mac Malmang, and this is my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. My name is perfect, and this is my perspective, right? So I ask the people who support me to watch me, support me, donate, keep it a buck. but you don't have to agree with me, right? I'm perfect because I'm a creation that God made. Because God made me, I'm perfect. If you got a child, if you ever cut the umbilical cord, you understand my association with perfection. I'm perfect because I'm made by God. I cannot be anything but perfect because I come from perfection. It took me a long time to understand that, but I'm perfect because I am that I am. But don't it look for me to be right? I'm not going to be right 100% of the time, but I promise I'll always be perfect because I was born that way. So you don't have to agree with me, but y'all could take the journey with me. I put the link in the chat. You can argue with me. You could disagree with me. You could disagree with me in the comments. You could disagree with me in the chat. You could agree with me in the comments. You could disagree with me in the chat. So that's the way we're going to rock with this Perfect Timing podcast. I'm going to be doing some new things coming up. I'm excited about it. I'm going to announce it soon, maybe next week. Thank you, Truth. Thank you, Truth. That's fire, man. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to my brother, Truth As I Know It, another Black YouTuber, content creator, intelligent brother, father, husband. A lot of people be looking for people to listen to. Like, you want to listen to a Black man who's doing this type of shit, but a lot of us be like picky. Like, you want to listen to someone who's intelligent, who's successful, who's actually done the things that you want to learn about. You want to listen to someone, if they're going to talk about relationships, you want him to be married. So if you want to listen, if you want someone like that, Truth As I Know It is a brother like that. And the first time you hear his podcast, you're going to know it. You're going to know, you're going to come back and say, perfect, you was right. Truth is the truth. Successful, married, husband, father, intelligent, professional. I learned so much. I've grown so much. And I know, see, you hear about the Black manosphere, right? And a lot of the people, and this Black man who talk this shit about the Black manosphere, and I'm like, who the fuck is you listening to? That's why I call the people I function with 5.0. 5.0 is a race to the top, TOP. 5.0 is the brothers that won't stop like me. 5.0 is the brothers that got it locked, get free. 5.0 was a race to the top. 5.0 was them brothers that got it locked, get free. 5.0 was them brothers that won't stop. So you got the second iteration of the manosphere, the third iteration of the manosphere, the fourth iteration of the manosphere. But this 5.0 iteration of the manosphere, every day we're doing the work to improve Black men. I'm not concerned with Black women, brown women, purple women, Martian, Plutonian. I gives no fucks. I have Black sons. I want my sons and Black men to be the best Black men that they could be, so they can have all the opportunities in the fucking world, not just pussy. Not just pussy. But all the opportunities in the fucking world, bro. Not just your choice of who you want to fuck. There's more to life than the choice, but fuck, you should have that choice too. That's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say. They talk about the Black manosphere, but I don't know who you listening to. You're not listening to 5.0. You're not listening to Truth As I Know It. You're not listening to Alonzo Hall. You're not listening to the Black Brain Trust with Rael. You're not listening to the Roger Report. You're not listening to Mr. Z. Huh? You're not listening to the habitual line steppers. Who you listening to when you talking this Black manosphere shit? I really want to know, because I know PhDs, lawyers, elders, CPAs. Who the fuck are you listening to when you talking shit about Black men on YouTube? When you making this joke about Black male podcasters? I want to know. Stop fucking making that joke unless you can point to the nigga saying that stupid ass shit. Because if you come to this motherfucking podcast, I'm going to roast your bitch ass and I'm going to point to some PhDs. PhDs. I'm going to point to some Ivy Leaguers. I'm going to point to some lawyers. I'm going to point to some CPAs, certified accounting professionals. I'm going to point to these black men helping other black men every day. And I'm going to say that's the black manosphere that I participate in on a daily basis. What black manosphere are you talking about? Can you please show me? That's all. That's all. Truth talking about that Mac Mall. What you know about that Mac Mall, man? What you know about that Mac Mall, man? He's had the whole albums, man. Yeah, man. You know, Northern California, man. You're your representative, man. You know what I'm saying? That V-Town, man. He's a party in the V-Town, man. What you talking about there, man? Mac Mall, man. He's a party in the V-Town, man. Yeah, man. You know, man. It's nothing, man. It's nothing. It's nothing. You know what I mean? But, you know, we're going to get up out of here, man. We had a good time. We did some education, man. We spit that ism, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Sir Ism. We really floated we floated on this thing, man. I came from the Bay Area on a glass sandwich bag. This game is all I had, man. And I sprinkled it all over this game tonight, man. So I'm going to get up out of here, man, because I know my wife is on my ass. So I'm going to call her back because she got on my nerves because I know she want me to go pick up my son. So I'm going to go pick up my son and tap in with the family. Y'all do the same. It's Friday. It's 4th of July weekend. I pray a covering over you. Be safe on them highways and byways. The highway patrol going to be out. The sheriff, the troopers, all of them going to be out. It's the hunting season for black men. If you ain't heard nothing I said all week, it's hunting season for black men. So be careful on this 4th of July weekend and just pray up because I know something is coming. We're going to have some bad news come Monday because they own our shit. So y'all be careful and be aware for when they come. The PSYOP is coming for this holiday weekend. Don't let you be part of the PSYOP. Don't let your monkey ass be part of the PSYOP. Your monkey ass gonna want to go somewhere. Sit your ass down. Sit your monkey ass down. All right, I love y'all. We out.